Skills on the platform. Back at you with another one. I'm gonna make this real quick, YouTube. Also, I want to talk about today. We want to get into the law of narcissism. One thing we have to understand about narcissism, um, we all have that trait because when it's all said and done, narcissism, in short, is someone that is in love with themselves. We all know that, we can't take care of others unless we take care of ourselves. If we're not in a good position, uh, you know, financially, if we're not in a good position mentally, you know, if we're not in a good position in any way, shape, or form, how can we be of service to our fellow man and sister and brother? So, how can we be of service to our fellow man, sisters, and brothers out here if we're not in a good position ourselves? So, in a sense, we have to look out for ourselves. But once again, there's balance in what we do on a day to day basis. We can't just completely focus on ourselves and not consider others. That's when it becomes dangerous, when we're solely focused on our needs and not the needs of others. So let me just go ahead and get into this real quick. Now, our sense of self worth is tied to the attention we receive and the quality of our interactions. Deep narcissists lack the cohesive sense of self. So their self worth comes entirely from others' attention and validation. The problem arises when we rely on others' attention and validation to feel worthy and alive. So that's where the problem lies, people. The problem lies is when we seek that validation and that worth to feel alive from others on a consistent basis. So, in a sense, we're saying that we don't really value ourselves because if we have to seek it outwardly, meaning we don't have anything to offer inwardly. Just just think about that for a second. If we are constantly, or anyone for that matter, is constantly seeking outside validation, that means that there's a sense of emptiness inside. There's nothing there. But that's not so because all of us wake up and we breathe without even thinking. We go to sleep, we wake up. We're not thinking about that. So there's something, a force that's greater than this body that we reside in, that's keeping us alive. So should we seek outside validation first versus looking within ourselves? That's the question. Should we seek outside validation versus looking within ourselves to that force that's in within each and every one of us that keeps us alive and breathing? We don't think about breathing, we just breathe. So we need to understand that it's every single one of us, regardless what probably happened in our past to cause us to behave the way we behave, to focus on ourselves and not think about others or consider others' needs, we really need to pause and just stop all activity and sit back for a couple hours or even an hour for with ourselves and really start to think like we do have value, every single one of us, regardless what happened in our past. So there's no excuse to behave in such a way. Let's move on. We are all narcissists to varying degrees because, once again, we all have a sense of self-worth. If we didn't, we wouldn't wake up in the morning, we wouldn't bathe, we wouldn't brush our teeth, we wouldn't moisturize our skins, um, you know, take care of ourselves and pamper ourselves to a certain degree, get dressed up and look a certain way and be presentable for the world. We wouldn't do that if we didn't have a sense of self. It's healthy to a certain degree. So we are all narcissists to a varying degree. Deep narcissists lack the cohesive sense of self. So their self-worth comes entirely from others, attention and validation. They tend to take everything personally. They demand control and attention in their relationships and are expert manipulators as leaders. They're expert manipulators. This is learned behavior. This is something that they've observed over the years from childhood to adulthood. So they learn this. Most of us are functional narcissists in the middle of the spectrum. So once again, there's some balance here. There's things that need to be weighed out. Functional narcissists in the middle of the spectrum. We may also slip into moments of self-absorption, but have a strong enough sense of self to pull out of it. So there's a strong enough sense of self to be able to pull out of it to the point where it's like, okay, this is not this is not this is not healthy. This is not good continuing in this behavior in this manner. Because if I'm consistently thinking about myself and neglecting the fact that others have a right to what I would like or what I would want to desire as well. So now it comes to the point where an individual would be willing to do anything to get what they want. Healthy narcissists have a strong resilience sense of self. They direct their sensitivity outward in the form of empathy toward people or focus creativity in their work instead of inward. So there has to be some type of reciprocation. There has to be some type of give and take. It can't consistently be taking if if you're completely taking all the time and subtracting. That means someone has to lose. And if someone consistently is in a position of being taken from all the time, their back's being pushed against the wall. It's going to come to a point where they're going to have to fight or flight. And if it gets to a point where they feel like they can't run, they're going to fight. And it could get real ugly. Then that's where violence gets involved. So now you have the tables in a sense have turned because the the individual who was consistently trying to take becomes a victim in a sense. Whereas the one that was being taken becomes the aggressor. So the one that's consistently taking and taking and taking from someone, in a sense, forces that person to become the attacker. While the one that's been taking all the time sits back and claims to be a victim. But you took that person there. That's why it's unhealthy behavior to consistently just try to take from someone. In a sense, that person would be justified, but if you consistently taking from someone and they all of a sudden become the attacker, you would sit back and say, oh, look, he or she's crazy. Look what they're doing, and play victim. Two can play at that game, but if we all have that healthy balance to the point where we're not consistently just trying to take from someone, because there's always give and take in relationships and exchanges. I'm teaching people now that there always can be it can be winners on both ends. But it's a sick type of mentality for someone to consistently think that they can just take from someone and they not expect to get any backlash from it. Because this type of behavior is becoming more known and coming to the forefront. So the people that's doing this, you will pay for it, whether you like it or not. And when all the smoke is clear and people find out that you are actual narcissist with bad intentions towards others, there'll be no sympathy for you. So once again, healthy narcissists have a strong, resilient sense of self. They direct their sensitivity outward in the form of empathy towards people or focus creativity in their work instead of inward. We need to shift towards healthy narcissism. There's nothing wrong with loving yourself, but when it becomes unhealthy, that's when it becomes a problem, not only for yourself, but it becomes a problem for others. There are diagnosis tests now to diagnose people with narcissism. And it's to the point where you think you're that smart, you think you can overcome that test. Nah, it's done in a way where you're gonna slip. That mask is gonna slip, and people are gonna see you for who you really are. You can't keep up the facade for long because people are gonna spot it. That mask gonna slip one point at somewhere down the road, and someone's gonna see, oh, okay, that's what's going on here. Someone is acting like they're one way when they're actually not. Aim to recognize deep narcissism to avoid being sucked into toxic relationships. Let me say that again because that's merited. Aim to recognize deep narcissism to avoid being sucked into toxic relationships. Be honest about your true nature and shift towards healthy narcissism. By developing empathetic skills. One way of doing it is assume you're ignorant about people and be truly curious about their point of view. In your daily conversations, set aside your judgment, biases. Stop your inner dialogue and listen fully. Don't assume you have similar or shared views. And be open to new discoveries. That's 4 ways you can focus on developing empathetic skills. Have an empathetic attitude. Stop thinking about you. The world doesn't revolve around you. Last I remember, there was a planet with about 7 billion people who are on this planet who share everything. We share this planet. It's not for you. It's not about you. It's about all of us. We all partake into this. I'm going to say those again. Assume you're ignorant about people and be truly curious about their point of view. In your daily conversations, set aside your judgment and biases. Stop your inner dialogue and listen fully. Don't assume you have similar shared views and be open to new discoveries. Now, think about being more empathetic. Really think. That's why you have a brain. We're all given a brain to use it to think. If you're not using it to think, then you're doing something completely opposite of that. And that's not productive. using your mind to come up with all kind of foolishness. Then you wonder why you're not getting anywhere in your life. You wonder why you don't have anything, or for that matter. There are, narcissists who are acquiring things, but they're not happy. Material wealth doesn't make anyone happy. We know this is a fact. There's more to life than material wealth. If you don't have your spirituality in order and in check, you're you're not whole. You're always going to feel empty inside. It doesn't matter how much money you ever get. If you don't have your spirituality in check, you're going to feel empty. Because everything that we see that's before us, everything on this planet, all the beautiful things that we see on a daily basis started out as a thought in your mind. Let me ask you a question. When the creator created everything that there is, were you there? We were all there. We may not have been we may not have been in existence, but we were there because we were in a thought. Nothing that exists today could not have existed unless there was a thought first. Nothing. Nothing people running around here act crazy about and act foolish about chasing material wealth and gain was never here unless it was a thought first. Master that thought process. You can have anything you want. There's nothing you can't have. There's nothing the creator doesn't want us to have. He created for us to enjoy. But you can't go around trying to take it from other people. You learn how to get it for yourself. And if you don't know how to get it for yourself, you ask someone to show you. In a lot of cases, you may have to pay for it to be able to get that information. But you pay for a lot of junk stuff for things anyway. So you might as well pay somebody to teach you how to do something or get somewhere to improve your life. It's worth it. So think about being more empathetic. Pay attention to people's reactions, facial expressions, body language, and tone of voice. Use mirroring to develop a strong connection. Mimic them, tone or expression, nod and smile as you listen. These are different ways that you can be able to subtly pick out a narcissist, especially someone that doesn't have good intentions, especially if you know someone is trying to deceive you. Use your analytical mind. Analyze. Slow down and just look at and observe people's behavior. They'll tell on themselves every single time if you just pay attention. Analytically, be empathetic. Gather info about other people to know them. Family, relationships, values. That's a key. If someone doesn't have any values, that's a red flag right there. What are you about? What do you stand on? What are your goals and dreams and aspirations? And don't regurgitate what you heard somebody else say because we're picking up on that mess too. What? this is some personal. I can tell you guys this that I've observed with the narcissist that I've encountered in the past. Don't just tell everybody or anybody, people you think that may be for you about what your plans are. Don't be open about everything. Hold back information because what I'm finding is that people will do is they'll let you talk and they are absorbing everything you say. They're memorizing a lot of stuff that you're saying. And they turn around and take what you've said, your whole entire personality, and then they'll go around other people and speak as if they're you. That's what they do. They will take in other words, it's like they're just cloning you in a sense, a doppelganger, trying to take what you regurgitate to them, and you're being genuine. You're like, okay, you're having a conversation, trying to get to know someone, and you're talking about your goals and dreams and aspirations. You got to be careful when you're talking to certain people because they'll take that information and try to go spew it around other people and deceive other people with your information. So that's why you have to be very analytical and visceral in a sense and really watch people, observe them. They're going to tell on themselves. They're going to slip because someone that's being genuine in a sense don't know how to really be fake because that's who they are. They're genuine people. But someone that's faking, someone that's BSing, they're going to slip. You're going to just catch it. You're just going to be like. Anytime you start making that inquisitive face, like, hmm, something about that right there. Person don't even sound like they even know what they're talking about. Sounds like something they just repeated. That's why you can't really these days when it comes down to sales, you can't just read a script. You know, you have to, have a conversation with people. Obviously, you have to have a foundation of your conversation when you're in sales. You have to know what you're talking about, products and services, whatever you're offering to people. But you have to hold a conversation with people. You have to ask good questions to be able to determine and find out if this is a good candidate for whatever service or product that you're offering. That's the part of sales a lot of people, I mean, obviously I've been in sales for a while, so I could talk about that, but you you have to hold a conversation with people to be able to determine if they're a good candidate. I fell for the foolishness at one point in time, but I think I allowed myself to. So, like I said, you have to be very observant of people. Don't rush into things. Take your time. Pay attention to people's reactions, facial expressions, body language, and tone of voice. Use mirroring to develop a strong connection. Mimic them, their tone and expression. Nod, smile as you listen. Analyze, empathy. Gather info about the other person to know them, family, relationships, values, and emotional triggers. There's certain things you can say and it triggers people. They just lose it because they have a certain belief system in their mind on things. It could be completely wrong, but they'll lose it because that's learned behavior. That's someone taught them that. It's not healthy. Be aware of these kind of things. Use indirect feedback to develop your empathetic skills. Ask about their thoughts, feelings to verify your guesses, your gestures, and observe them, their responses, and rapport. So you have to observe their responses, build rapport with people. Take your time. Don't rush into things. I'm guilty of it, but I learned. I know better now. Take your time. There's no rush. We have to be able to understand that some people were not raised properly. And even the ones that were not raised properly, some people still don't behave that way because they learn to communicate. They learn to communicate. They learn to read people. You got to learn how to start reading people's body language because no one can't keep up certain behaviors if that's not who they are. People learn how to act very well. People put on a mask and can act a certain way just to deceive others. We run into actors every day. They're not only on television or behind cameras. The scriptures teach you need to try the spirit by the spirit. Ask good questions. And that's another thing too. You're asking people questions and then they get offended by you asking a question. That's another red flag right there. Why are you getting offended because I asked you a question? Clearly that you have some type of motive that you don't want me to discover. That right there, just you cut it off right there. If they can't even answer a simple question, they get upset about a simple question that you ask, and you're getting to know this individual. Um, that's a no-no. We're talking about narcissism, narcissist, and how to deal with them, how to overcome it. A lot of times we're dealing with these people in the workplace. We're dealing with these people. We're encountering them they're everywhere. Personally, I don't suggest you deal with them at all. But if you have to be able to. I mean, we interact. We're social beings. We socialize one another. But if you're gonna interact with people, take your time. Don't just rush into things. And that's another trick that narcissists use. They're quick to jump in bed with you. Quick. They ready to throw it at you. They ready to get it in right now. Talking about how good they are in the bet. Don't fall for that one right there. That's the oldest trick in the book. Talking about, yeah, girl, I, I'll knock your socks off or whatever. Oh, boy, you don't know. This is fire down here. Please, I done heard that so many times. Save that shit. I want to know what's in your mind. I want to make love to your mind first. I want to see where your mind at. Show me that. Show me how sexy that mind is first. And then we see where it goes from there. Let's take our time, people. Let's not rush into things. There's too much nonsense going on out here these days. We gotta love ourselves. Healthy. And watch out for these kind of people. That's why I'm doing this video, to bring awareness so that way we know how to deal with these kind of people on a regular basis. YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification to receive future videos like this. Also, if you are looking to get some direction in your life, you're not sure what your purpose is in life, get yourself a numerology report and an astrology report. So that way you can have some type of a direction. By knowing your numerology numbers, you're able to determine what's best suited for you when it comes down to your life's path, on which way to go, what best suits you according to your numbers. The numbers that you were born with, your date of birth, and your name has energy tied to it. And those energies are better suited doing certain things than others. The email is in the description. Send me an email, request yourself a numerology report, an astrology report, so that way you know what direction to take in your life. I know a lot of people are misdirected. This will put you on track, so that way you know what to do next. Thank you, YouTube. Peace.